So now we're going to move to outward. Have you ever said yes to an experience that terrified you and you didn't realize that it would change you forever? January 2007, my company moved me to Japan. I was one of 2 Americans in a team filled with over 300 team members, Japanese team members. In my first meeting to meet my boss, Steve, I was both excited and intimidated by this new experience. I get to his office and I walk in. I see colorful pamphlets of Mount Fuji towards the left-hand side, and then Steve behind the desk. He welcomes me with enthusiasm. He's a tall guy with a big smile. And then he tells me that he wants to share with me a vision that he has. He said, the team morale is very low, and I would like to plan a team building activity. Wouldn't it be amazing for us to climb Mount Fuji together? At that point, I started praying to God, to all the saints and angels and anything up there. Oh God, please don't let him ask me to climb Mount Fuji. He hands me one of the flyers and he said, oh, this would be an amazing experience. We'll get to the top of the mountain together. We'll learn so much from each other. I couldn't even hear anything he was saying because I was busy thinking, Mount Fuji is a dormant volcano. It could erupt that day. It's the height of 8 times the Empire State Building. I've never climbed a mountain before, and I'm definitely not in shape, and I'm even scared of heights, but I don't know what happened. I just heard my voice say, sure, I can do it. So he raised his arm in the air, and he was just so excited, telling me how much I'm going to benefit so much from climbing the mountain and learning so much about leadership. The plan was that we would take 3 trains and a bus from Tokyo to Mount Fuji to the middle of the mountain. That is called the 5th station. We would climb for 6 hours until we get to the 8th station, where we would eat and sleep in a lodge for less than 4 hours, and then climb again. Wake up at 2 a.m. and climb another 2 hours to get to the crest. And then we would go down the mountain. It should take about 5 to 6 hours. How difficult would that be? We initially started with over 40 team members interested. And as we got to the date, we had 4. Steve, the boss, Moto-san, who was retiring that month, and I was questioning, why is he even climbing a mountain? Okubo-san, who was ready for a promotion, and I think he was doing the same thing as me to learn about leadership. These 3 men and me. Everything went as planned. We got to the middle of the mountain, to the 5th station. We got out of the bus. It was a beautiful day. The sun was clear, and we were in a great mood. As we started putting our backpacks on that were very, very heavy, with oxygen bottles and layers of clothes and energy bars and water, Steve said, let's play a game. He said, let's see who gets to the top first. And before the 3 of us could even comprehend what he just said, he already put his headphones on and started his hike up the mountain. I was freaking out. He had the map, the reservation for the lodge, the entire plan. But then Moto-san said, don't worry, Dima-san, which means Miss Dima in Japanese. We'll be okay. We'll figure it out. I was looking for the bus so I can just run back to Tokyo, but the bus was gone, so I had to climb the mountain. So we started our hike, and it wasn't like a smooth hike where you're hearing birds singing and butterflies and grass. It's a volcanic mountain. We had to climb one big rock after the other. They're big as a bus. And it only got worse as we got higher with the oxygen level coming down. Well, imagine feeling a headache, dizzy, and nauseous, and having to climb these rocks, and they're like, it seems never ending. But the entire process, I was so impressed with Moto-san and Okubo-san, watching them, how they ensured that we stayed together. They were helping me, sometimes pulling me up the rocks, and holding my backs and helping other people too. It was so impressive to see how they were helping everybody. Then we got to the 7th station, which was about 2 hours away from the lodge. And we, by then, were exhausted. We're tired, we're cold. At that point, I just stood and finally dared to look away from the mountain, because again, I'm scared of heights. And I saw the most beautiful view. By then, we were on top of the clouds. If I wasn't scared of heights, I would even try to attempt to touch them, but I passed on that. And it was right after sunset, so it was gorgeous. As I looked to the other side, I saw Moto-san talking to an older couple. They looked in their 70s or 80s. Well, some of you may be thinking, why are people in their 70s or 80s climbing Mount Fuji? Well, in Japan, they believe that this is a holy mountain. And they try to climb it. Hundreds of thousands of Japanese within 2 or 3 months that are the climbing season, because they believe there's a goddess of fire that lives at the top of the mountain. And they go up as pilgrims to worship her, so she would keep the mountain from erupting. The older man of the couple, he was shivering and his lips were turning blue. But then I saw Moto-san rubbing his arms, making sure that he's warm, feeding him energy bars, and we were getting so low on energy bars. He even took off his jacket and put it on top of him in the freezing cold. Wow. Finally, we got a little energy to continue our hike up, and we got to the 8th station. I got to the lodge, stood in front of the lodge, and then suddenly Steve appeared in front of my face, trying to remind us that he made it there first. And I said, we're starving and we're hungry. How is dinner? And he said, dinner was great. They had warm miso soup, steamed rice, and green tea. But the kitchen closed 30 minutes ago. There's nothing left. And I said, you saved us some, right? Like, it's napkin. Put some rice in a napkin and just roll it. And he said, oh, that would have been a great idea. I didn't think about it. At that moment, I felt like a volcano ready to erupt right in front of his face. But my other team members saved him from me. So they pushed me aside, and we found a corner in the lodge. We sat there, and we started eating the last 2 energy bars. Then we went to sleep, woke up at the sound of a bang on a gong, and everybody was rushing to get ready. It was cold, it was dark outside, and then Steve came to us and said, see you at the top. But by then, we were used to not having a leader. We managed to figure out things without our leader, and he was gone. We got to the top, and finally, we got to the crest of the mountain where Steve was waiting for us, where the temple of the goddess of fire is. He reminded us again that he made it first, but we ignored him. So we sat waiting for the most beautiful sunrise. By then, it was most likely 4:30 in the morning. We sat at a big rock, the 4 of us, and it was gorgeous. It was the most beautiful sunrise ever. Imagine being at the top of a mountain with the clouds underneath you, the sunrise starting to come out, the colors of the clouds changing and the sky changing 360 degrees to purple and orange and yellow and red, all kinds of beautiful colors. I honestly felt that the 5 minutes as the sunrise was coming up made the entire hike worth it. Then, after this amazing experience, I stood up, and then Moto-san and Okubo-san started bowing to me and each other. That was their way to celebrate that we were able to accomplish this as a team. And I said, forget about a bow. I want to give you an American hug. And these men were just like standing like that. They're unable to move. They're so uncomfortable hugging a woman. But I was just like, I gave up. Who cares about cultural differences? So, and then I looked to the side and I saw Steve talking to some of the other hikers and bragging how he made it to the top at a record speed. We went around the crater, and then as we were ready to come down, Steve again disappeared. If anybody is interested in hearing about the hike down, which includes a blizzard, that's a whole different speech. But I learned so much from climbing the mountain, and Steve said that I would learn so much about leadership. What I learned the most is that the person who gets to the top first and leaves the team behind is definitely not a leader. The leader is the person who walks step by step with the team, sometimes on their side, sometimes behind them, sometimes pushing them to go faster, is the person who's connected with the team from the bottom of the mountain to the crest and back to the bottom. It's the person who cares, who believes in the human element. This is the leaders that we need. So how many of you here had experience with someone similar to a Steve? Look at this one, how cool it is. This is an ancient Japanese proverb that said, if you come to Japan and don't climb Mount Fuji, you are a fool. But if you climb it more than once, you're even a bigger fool. And I want to make sure I'm not a bigger fool. I'm done. I actually, as I was preparing for this, I'm like, that would be fun to climb it again. But no. So, so now I want you to sit down within your table and brainstorm, what are the qualities of a great leader? Because we want to be great leaders. This world needs women great leaders. And what did you learn from them? So take another 3 to 5 minutes within your table.